same message repeatedly, one after the other, to the people with the same warnings. فَجَاءَتْكُمْ بَيِّنَةٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ فَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدَ إِصْلَاحِهَا ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. And Moses again declared the same message, and David and Solomon and all those who followed until the time of Hadhrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he laid the greatest emphasis on ibadah than all the prophets before him ever did. Now, before I come to the second part of the purpose of the Prophet's creation, that is Nema, let me now come back to the subject of worship and to explain why this warning is given that do not worship anyone but Allah. It is highly important for us and for the whole mankind. It is not just a question of jealousy on the part of God, that because I have created you, you must worship me. Some people take the subject of shirk to be just that much. They understand that Allah is extremely jealous. He is jealous not in the human terms but in his own excellence. He is also jealous, no doubt about it. This is one of his attributes. But just to declare jealousy being the only reason why he should prohibit us from worshipping others and punishing us so severely and showing such a severe attitude towards punishing others, to worshipping others, as to warn us that he can forgive every other sin, but not the sin of idolatry. If we call partners besides Allah, he will not forgive us. Why such an emphasis is laid on this? Why not just leave the subject of worship as in positive terms, you worship Allah and forget about the rest of the warnings? The reason is that most of the destruction of human values is caused by worshipping gods other than Allah. And this subject is not a very simple subject which can be treated at its face value. It has deep intricacies and deep involvements. And we must understand the subject of worshipping others than Allah more clearly. Otherwise we will not be able to tread the path of those who have been favored by Allah. So to understand Nema requires also to understand those factors which destroy Nema and turn it into anything but Nema, some destructive values. So when you consider the subject of worshipping other than Allah in greater detail, the Holy Quran deals with this subject in so many places, with clearly laying down before us the consequences, the reasons why, and what sort of idol worship we permit ourselves to do, and the reasons why we do it. The most important fact to be believed, to be brought to focus is this, that whenever we worship someone, we try to be like him. We try to follow his desires and his mandates, his injunctions, his admonitions, etc. So if the object of our worship is perfect and is good essentially, our conduct would be perfect and good correspondingly. If there is some defect, some flaw, some shortcoming in the object of our worship, because we'll put him as paragon of virtue before us to be followed, will naturally follow into the same shortfalls which are a part of that object of our worship. The same shortcomings would be acquired by us, which are found in the object of our worship. That is the simple and straightforward reason why we are prohibited to worship things other than Allah. Because except Allah, everything else is imperfect. Except Allah, no perfect virtue can be found in any other object. So by worshipping, we follow people, or we follow either God or the gods of our creation with complete subjugation to them. This is worship. We give in completely, we submit entirely to that thing which we worship. So now look at other idols besides Allah which have been created by man. If you worship a snake, like some Hindus do, that means he is God and he is to be revered and he is to be followed. So the habits of a snake are highly respected, otherwise he will not be worshipped. His innate tendency to bite and to strike and to inject venom into other living beings, and his character of hiding himself and the style of his life and everything, if that's not praiseworthy, nobody would ever think of worshipping a snake. Similarly, if you worship lightning, if you worship sun, you worship moon, naturally these are all objects held in high esteem because of their good points, certain points in them, certain features of theirs which look attractive to mankind. But there are also other features which are not attractive, which are defective, and which if you follow them, then you will be led to a conduct, a pattern of behavior and conduct which will be destructive to other mankind as well. You will not be safe as a social animal. Things from you, people will not feel in peace about you, because those whom you worship would also require you to be misbehaved towards your fellow being, because they have that in them. So if you create a wrong object of worship, his wrongs will be incorporated in you. That is one reason why idol worship is forbidden. The second reason why it is so much emphasized is that if you worship somebody or something without knowing what that thing is, without that thing ever responding to you, without there being any possibility of your coming into contact with that being and receiving a guidance from that being, that worship becomes totally hollow and meaningless, to say the least. And that being so, then you create things about that object of worship and attribute those things to that object of worship. And what you worship is not a real object outside your being. What you worship is your own imagination, your own creation, and your own inclinations, and nothing more. Now, when you look at the Greek mythology, this is exactly what happened in that case. They worshipped the objects of nature, which were beyond them. They were overawed by some of their manifestations. They worshipped the sun, they worshipped the winds, they worshipped the seas, oceans, and also all other elements of nature, which occasionally were seen in an awe-inspiring mood, where they could strike, where they could kill, where they could destroy. And also, when they were benign, they could give you so much benefit. So that was all their understanding of these objects of worship. But they could never contact sun, know the nature of